think the honorable thing for our species to do is deny our programming. Stop reproducing. Walk hand in hand into extinction. One last midnight, brothers and sisters opting out of a raw deal.
Do not trust any friends or family members. I repeat, do not trust friends.
Yeah, we're not American enough to know what the difference between a rooster and a chicken is, my friend.
Well, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
We don't have
every American is born with an innate understanding of the rooster and the chicken. I'm basing that on nothing. This is going to be part
that.
of our.
No, I like that.
Yeah, when we do our Jake Paul, Mike Tyson commentary, like that's the kind of thing our audience is going to get. Just nonsense talk, just absolute blather.
That's what they show up for.
Which apparently is what they're interested in.
But I think if I asked ChatGPT if that what you just said was true, I think I could get it to toe the line.
On the American innate understanding of the chicken and the turkey? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
and they also
absolutely.
know like those little when a baby chick is born, they immediately know whether it's male or female and whether or not they need to break its tiny neck.
That sounds true.
No, that sounds right too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's farm life. That's the American homestead.
You spend enough time on a farm.
The prairies.
Incidentally, any listeners who actually have that power, hit us up. Just out of curiosity, you don't have to tell us your technique. I'm sure it's all.
You don't even have to tell us your name. You can just say, "Yeah, that's a fucking fact."
Yeah. We'll know what you're referring to. Just put it in the comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
Where all fine comments are left. Yeah. The Onion went and done a fucking hilarious thing. Went and bought InfoWars. I can't wait to find out. So, James, do you know about this? So, Alex Jones, the conspiracy theorist asshole.
I know of him, and I follow the Onion. So.
Okay. You know. So the old Alex Jones, he got the $1 billion judgment against him, and as a consequence, he's bankrupt. He's liquidating his assets, and some of his assets are the website that he owns, as well as all the copyrighted material, including like the Twitter handle and all the stuff associated with it. I don't know if the Onion bought the Twitter handle as well, but on auction, they purchased the InfoWars website and all of Alex Jones's intellectual property. And yeah, that's it. Like, if there's one thing that makes me happy and gives me hope about the future of North America, it's the Onion. God bless them. I needed this. I
feel like that is a funny thing to do. Like, what is the plan for that?
They say that they're going to use it to make fun of people. That's a big surprise.
That's and like right-wing shitheads, like sort of like conspiracy theorists and like people.
Well, that's
like
what
that.
they do anyway. But I mean, if this increases their power level, like Goku.
Yeah. I'm pleased by this.
Yeah. Wow. So we'll see. I mean, they could shit the bed on it, but it's a funny thing, and it makes me happy, and I kind of needed that. This grim meat hook future that awaits us. Or like speaking of grim meat hooks, there we go.
Nice.
You guys want to talk about some horror movies by Ty West? Something called Pearl and Maxxxine.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. That's great. Here on the Extinction Agenda with James
and Chris.
And we're just chomping at the bit. The excitement's palpable, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we're like, I forget why we ended up merging the two movies together rather than doing them separately. I think it was a timing thing.
I thought there was talk of somebody saying they didn't have fuck all to say about Pearl.
Oh, that might be part of it. Yeah, because I'm a little low on Pearl thoughts, but I'm also a little low on Maxxxine thoughts. So.
Okay.
That doesn't mean I won't have anything to say. Because like Lord knows I always have something to say.
Slap them together, you got yourself an episode.
Yeah, got ourselves a fucking humdinger. I'm a star. I hate that fucking whiny voice shit she does.
Oh man. I enjoy the fuck out of that. I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, so Pearl is a prequel, and Maxxxine is a sequel to the movie X. And Pearl came out the same year. They continued filming it because they were in New Zealand. And I didn't realize this, but the people who were working on Avatar: Way of the Water or whatever, they were the production crew because they had a break in their schedule. So I don't know. That's funny to me.
Maybe that's why the cinematography looks so pretty again on Pearl. Or that's got to be Ty West, I guess.
Oh, but yeah, I don't know who's doing. Actually, I didn't look up who was taking the pictures, But anyway, and then Maxxxine came out this year, and it is the sequel. So relatively recent on that front, and it brings the whole thing supposedly to an end. I don't know, James, you hadn't seen Pearl, so Pearl, how'd you feel about Pearl?
I like Pearl. I'm now romanticized by this whole Ty West experience because I enjoy like a hard effort on period work. I like when you're gonna, like, if you can transport me back somewhere and make a real heavy conscious effort to make sure that that you've got the technology, cigarettes, cars, and landscape to take me back to whatever the fucking post-war year this is, or during the war year. 1918. There you go. So I don't know. I just thought that was really done well, and it's part of the character. This isn't really like the Maxxxine character development, but this has its own character development for Pearl, right? So it's you're gonna. It's just it's more psychological than the first one, and I don't know. I just thought it was just landscaped so well.
Yeah, it does look pretty good. And Mia Goth, does her Mia Goth thing. I think it's far from a bad movie. I think
it is.
I think it is far from a bad movie. Yeah, I think though still nonetheless it fails as a prequel, and it fails also as its own independent movie. I don't like Pearl's. She's not menacing, and she I don't see the old woman from X. Okay, no, here's why I feel that it fails as a prequel, because I don't see the old woman from X in Pearl. Like this origin story, given what we saw in X, I don't see it. Like, we learn nothing of Howard, for instance. Why does he support her murderous things, and what were her murderous things? Like, we barely got, she murdered some things or whatever, and but I don't get that she really struggled. The Pearl in the first movie for me was someone who actually got into Hollywood, or actually got into productions and that sort of thing, and got eaten up by it and spit out. This character is just kind of pathetic and doesn't do anything. And so I don't see the old woman in it, and I don't care about the young woman in it. And yeah, I remembered liking this movie, and I don't know why, because on rewatch I was just kind of meh. What it's good for is echoes of the first movie of X, right? That's the fun of it. Those visual echoes, or those verbal echoes, that's where this movie shines, and what makes it a trilogy. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know what to do with this movie. I'm inclined to think that Mia Goth's contributions to the script maybe had a hand in making it suck fucking ass.
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay.
I'm just gonna throw. There we go. That's
unloading.
That's my heart. Yeah.
Yeah. No, man. I disagree with so much of that, and I don't think that she ever did make it into Hollywood. I think that one of the twists of this movie is that it reveals that she's deluded the whole time. She never did anything. She had this conception that she was a star, that she had talent. Maybe she did. Maybe she could dance pretty well. They kind of yeah, he did pretty well, but we were looking for someone younger and blonder, stifled by her mother. and their home situation. But I think that's such an interesting twist to say like, no, like everything that she said about herself, this sort of sense of importance that she had is just like her own delusion that's been fed by Howard all these years.
Fine, but we didn't see that, right? It's not.
We don't need to see. We don't need to see a
Sure.
chronology of her like serial killing greatest hits. Like I think we got the origin story. We got, we don't see the great episode 1 of Star Wars, Phantom Menace. You don't see Hayden Christensen as Darth Vader, but we see the beginning of that journey. So too it is.
I like that. I think the I don't know. I thought just seeing her her post-traumatic stress from obviously a weird. I mean, like I don't think that there's anything happening in her family life that would have been extremely outlandish for the time. That's part of the disbelief that I grappled with, was that the mother's not really technically abusive for that time period.
True.
Yeah, she's emotionally stifling, but yeah.
The dad's obviously, he's crippled and nonverbal, and that's but I mean, I think she's got a psychosis, so she's that's sort of wrapped, like her behavior is sort of like really shown in that alligator egg moment I found.
Yeah, yes.
That's like sort of like the she sort of switches off, and then you kind of see her devolve into like she's just acting on pure impulse. She needs to get to a certain point where she just wants to be a part of this church dance group, and she's willing to do anything at all to get there. So it's, I don't know, it's like sort of watching her devolve, and I thought the same when I thought of Howard. I thought maybe he would be sort of a mirror of the film room guy, where he was terrified of her. Only the film room guy didn't really get a full picture of what she was capable of until after he was killed, where Howard got the full scope of how psychotic she was immediately upon arriving back from the war. And then also would have had the war experience, and I would think maybe would just stay out of fear.
I agree.
And maybe just trauma himself. I don't know. I bought along with this, and I liked it. But
yeah, I think what James was pointing to is that like there is another movie to be told. Like I want to see Howard's ongoing adventures with Pearl, like in this state, like sort of like an I Love Lucy. I don't know how you do it, but like just like that'd be interesting. Like why does he go along with it? Like that, those are questions that have not been answered by this prequel. But I think that just leaves some room to grow, or like we don't necessarily need to know. I think that touching on the war, like that idea of like trauma or like whatever, PTSD, that is an interesting angle that I hadn't really thought of. But yeah, that would actually make a lot of sense.
Well, he, in those letters that he sends to her and that she reads, he talks about everybody's like, he says, like the horrors of the gas or something that I won't soon forget, something like that. So he's certainly seen monstrousness. I don't know. I don't like. I expect something to have a unity to itself, to be something that can, like, again. So I'm looking at X. I'm watching X right now, and Maxxine is in the house. She's wearing her like naked farmer's outfit, and she has the lemonade, and she's walking around with Pearl, the old woman, and the old woman is looking at photos on the wall, and there's clearly a picture of Pearl dancing, like on a stage, right, as someone who did something with their life.
Okay, that's interesting.
And failed as a consequence, and that's what I'm driving at when I see that picture, and I'm like, well, where's that story? that you gestured towards something and then you sold me something else, and now there's no continuity here. You just gave me a story about a pathetic girl who murders people for no particularly good reason that I can see, and doesn't do so in a way that is particularly horrifying.
I think there's still ways to gap that, like, like maybe Howard tries to support her afterwards, like, but anyway, yeah, like, you're right, it doesn't directly answer those questions.
Yeah. And like, Howard's so important to the first movie. Like, Howard's the driving force of violence.
Oh yeah. Well, he's trying to. Right? Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And like there was the connection between sex and death that X handled so well, and the clear carnality of their relationship. Like, we could have got like something really fucked up in Pearl, and we just didn't. Like, instead what we got was a meditation upon like the birth of pornography, which the first movie already did, and some sort of fucking commentary on COVID.
No, there's way more than that.
I don't know about that. You think so?
What do you mean? Like the commentary on COVID?
Well, yeah, the mask, you think, but that's more of like a
playful.
Yeah, I didn't take that too seriously. It would have been timed right for it, but I guess it was. But it can be taken as any kind of like a viral fear thing. But the I don't know. I just because it's all driven by the female characters here. And it's all also we're like hinging on Mia Goth's performance. I think it's just like it was such a slow burn of a stylized kind of slasher. So she just like, though I'm okay with just following Mia Goth's performance through it, and I think there's like there's a bit of a feminist power thing as well, sort of like rooted through the movies too. So I know what you mean by, because the Howard was more of like a Texas Chainsaw sort of like he almost had a leading man role sort of in the last movie. So it was I know what you mean by it not tying back to as a proper prequel, but I kind of like, if you take it as a standalone, I feel like it does well on its own.
Yeah, and you said it very well. Like, you said that, like, the psychology, like, it's got a psychological element to it. It's a Hitchcock movie. It's like, it's more of a slow burn. It's about the psychology of how she gets to where she is, and like the sort of like we kind of pitch into that horror late. And I think it's pretty effective, like her unraveling into madness. Like the sort of like axe murder, like sort of like coming at you slowly. I think there's scenes where she's pretty terrifying, I thought.
And there's a pain too, like it seems like she's in pain. Like, you can see her like suffering during the slip, I don't know, maybe I feel like you're a little down on her performance here, but.
Are you talking to me? I dropped out of the call for just a moment and didn't hear anything that you said.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was like, you're giving me a hard time about her. I just said I thought there was like kind of a pain to her performance. Like, you could see she was grasping, like, to try to like hold on to sanity, And then you were like, oh, yeah. You were like, oh God.
There's little lines of
like, that bad. But.
Yeah, where she says like, I'm thinking there's something wrong with me, or like, it seems a lot more peaceful to be normal people. Like that. Those hit hard, I thought.
Yeah, that monologue that she gives at the end when she's talking with her, I guess it's her sister-in-law.
One take, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. I can't deny that, and the axe murdering that occurs after that, also I can't deny that. I mean, like, it's coolness when he just like slowly stalks her down and fucking ha.
Yeah. When she like throws the boiling water on her mom and then like just has her in the basement, like that's fucked.
Yeah, that's true. I guess at the end of the day, we're gonna get different mileage out of the fact that this is all about like a church dance that she didn't get in.
Sure,
like I can't.
Propping them up for the family dinner is a nice touch too.
Oh God, yeah, just like that surrender to like Well, and this ties back to like like you're right, the mom isn't that bad for the time, and she's like we find out that she knows exactly what Pearl is and has been keeping her to the farm so that she can't like spread into the world or do her thing. So like that Pearl's embrace of just that domestic role, like by putting the corpses of her parents there and having that like fucking maggoty roast that pays off like throughout the whole movie.
Oh yeah, the old maggot roast. That's good stuff.
Nasty. I think there's an
and the
element
mother's.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just the mother's unwillingness to accept charity. There's like she's very concerned. I don't know. Like obviously, I do think something deeper is involved with the mom, because like to let that roast out there just fucking go to rot when you're complaining. Like she wants to suffer, and she wants Pearl to suffer along with her. And she's like, I don't know. There's a punishment going on, like a penance. And it seems that she perhaps has an affinity for the Kaiser. Because she doesn't want to hear about the war coming to an end. She doesn't want to hear about any more dead Germans tonight.
That's true. Yeah.
And yeah.
I had a heavy discomfort with Pearl's weird dad sexual relationship too.
Yeah.
There's kind of an awful angle there that they just skirted, kind of just sort of honed you in around, just to make you really feel fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What do you mean, the bath scenes?
Oh yeah, she slips into the water. Like I didn't want to waste the water, but she's like just kind of like doing like can girl kicks for right in front of her dad.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess
he's just sizzling in there, waiting to be killed by her. Also,
well, especially later, like his eyes start getting a little more active, right?
That's right.
He's like, oh, yeah.
Fun performance from that actor, but
yeah. That's a tough role, just to like completely communicate with your eyes how fucking shit scared you are.
Yeah, and that line where she's like, I just know that you're gonna look down on me, be so proud, when she's like about to kill him.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah. There's an element of this movie that I think we haven't really touched on yet, which is like the whole thing really is this dichotomy between fantasy and reality. And I think it very effectively plays with that, with the Technicolor Wizard of Oz kind of parallels. Yeah, like Pearl's journey to, like on her way into town, meets the projectionist, maybe sort of an Oz figure.
The man behind the.
Yeah. Who's like kind of promising this like sort of like better life in Europe, but is just gonna kind of leave her after. And then
he's grooming her for sex work.
Oh, you think so?
Well, I mean like pornography, but I mean,
yeah. I don't know if he's maybe. Yeah, I thought just there's sort of like a seduction of like, oh, like this is how people really are. In fact, during that moment, he says like this, people want to see how people really are. Like there's a talk about reality, and porn is like that sort of base reality.
Oh, I kind of more took him as he was just like sort of casually betting her with his worldliness, like sort of a fucking hippie from out of town, like a guy in Toronto with a British accent. Yeah.
But he's going to take her to Europe with him. Like
he's lying.
He's going to
fuck her, and then he's going to go back and work his job at the movie place.
Well, we have no reason to think that's the case. We have every reason to think he's actually leaving town, because he said so, and they're planning to do so. Fine, he might still abandon her, but like the point is that like it's not just like if he wanted to just fuck her and leave, he could do that. But like the movie leads us to believe that he actually was intending to take her. In which case, he's dragging her into the sex industry, whether or not that's like sex work, or whether it's pornography. I guess the only thing that the movie warrants is that it's definitely pornography.
Oh, I see. That's okay, I guess. I don't know. I guess that follows in theme of the entire trilogy. I took him more as just like a fraudster.
Well, I think you're right that he's a fraudster, but I think his intent, like he's not he's not sinister in his intent, even though he has sinister intent, I suppose. Or like he's a libertine. Maybe he thinks she's into it, right? She showed up and they fucked. She wants to be a star. She wants to be in the movies. Like maybe from his perspective, he's like, well, maybe we can help each other. I want to make stag films. You want to be in films.
I think he didn't give any signs that he was immediately gonna fuck off until she started like creeping him out.
Exactly.
With her like manic, like tour of the farm and the noises of like, what's that in the basement? Oh.
It ain't nothing.
Yeah. What did you guys think of that overly forward scarecrow? What a pervert that guy was.
Oh, yeah.
He was a good-looking scarecrow.
He was.
Yeah, that was a great scene. I don't know.
Amazing.
That was a fun scene.
The I'm married, like that's like I've gone back to YouTube to like watch that like many times. Amazing.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and then she's immediately like just fucking
grinding on it.
It says shush. Yeah.
Even her orgasm at that moment has like horror vibes. Like it cuts away and like the crows are flying away from the noise.
Yeah.
This is the start of something real bad.
Yeah, I think so. One thing I've noticed about Ty West, and I think I'm gonna again, I'm being a hater here, but like I've watched 4 Ty West movies at this point, and one of them was good. And so what I think my conclusion is that like Ty West is a guy who makes like these pastiche films, like these really sort of watered down Tarantino horror movies. And only one of them that he has made is good, like really good, and that's
wow.
It's like that's
Pearl's also really good.
Because Pearl does the exact like it's just what is the point of all this Wizard of Oz? Like why is she banging the scarecrow? What are all these film references really accomplishing? I mean, like you did gesture to some of it in the projectionist, like kind of an Oz figure, but
yeah, it is like it's projection. It's like it's the border between self-conception and reality, and like how far you can get away with that, like to what extent you project onto the world, or like have to accept the reality of what it is.
Dorothy's story ends up in the status quo. Like she goes to Oz and she does all of her Oz stuff, and then she's like, "There's no place like home." And then she goes back home, and it's just a bunch of people creeping at her in their bedroom, just like, "Oh, and it was actually just nothing changed, and I'm just right where I came from."
Yeah, I think this does that too, but like with an ironic, like there's an irony to it, because like the status quo is that Pearl is a serial killer, and actually it's better for everyone that she's deluded ultimately. Like when she hacks up her sister-in-law, she's like, she quotes her mother, like, it's not about what I want, it's about making the most of what I have. So as long as she had that sort of hope of getting out of there, like people were maybe sort of safe. But once she accepts the reality of what she is and like her situation, she's, we get Pearl as like fully formed.
Oh, you know what? That's persuasive to me. I'll buy that for $1, and we'll spend. You get one of my Yankee dollars, sir.
All right.
Nice.
I can't go to bat for Maxxxine though.
Oh wait, hang on.
No, yeah, for sure. We don't have to jump.
Did you have something else to say about Pearl? You doing, James?
Me?
Yeah,
no.
You said wait.
Oh, okay. You want to step in?
You told us to wait.
I want to
go to bat for Maxxxine.
Yeah, I'd like to go to bat for Maxxxine.
I'd fucking go for it. You know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I thought that this movie was, whereas with Pearl, I thought that Pearl didn't like I said, it wasn't a good prequel, and it didn't, to my eyes, stand alone sufficiently to make me like ever want to rewatch it as a standalone thing. Maxxxine had it like it's a sequel, right? It's a proper sequel, and also you can watch it independent of the first movie. Like I don't think seeing the first movie is really required, and so like it right off the bat succeeds in a way that I think Pearl doesn't. And I think the amount of time that they had to work on it really shows, because the 80s are captured pretty well. And the sets are also really and the sets are really interesting. Like getting to that distinction between fantasy and reality stuff. You know, they go to the Bates Motel and all that stuff, and they're on all these Hollywood fantasy sets, and it seems much more in keeping with the story that I thought X was about. Not like the X trilogy. And that said, fucking dumb ending. But very appropriate for an 80s horror movie. Like it didn't strike me as, I was like, okay, I see what you're doing here, but like, why'd you do that? Yeah, but I liked the music a lot better. I think that's another problem I have with Pearl is like Tyler Bates or whatever, like the music guy, he's working with someone different. They're trying to capture like that Wizard of Oz vibe, right?
Yeah.
You know, and like
Yeah.
it just sucks all the horror out of everything. I feel like I'm watching Jurassic Park. Like I just nothing's happening. But with Maxxxine, like I need to be immersed in a soundscape that is unified with the effect the movie's trying to produce. And I feel that like Maxxxine was more able to do that. Yeah. Anyway, that was a lot.
No, yeah, I honestly I thought Maxxxine was better because I thought it was more like almost like a classic slasher also.
Yeah.
Like it had that. It's just like more. It was more of an 80s movie, and well, it was an 80s movie, but it was like really, like you say, the soundtrack was really like well woven. There was even like synthesizer background stuff, plus they had like key songs. It almost dated itself in the 80s, like soundtrack wise, in the same way like that maybe like American Psycho kind of did. Like where you got those real hit 80s songs to sort of cling on to kind of bring you into the vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was really cool. And then just that. Now listen, this wasn't really like, I didn't feel like this was a horror movie.
No, it's noir. Really.
And I liked that because I felt like I liked that because he did an 80s movie. So it wasn't just an 80s. We didn't just use a set pieces or you know, kind of that in the way that I think I kind of described like Pearl in the way that it was nice that you brought us back to the 1918. Like there's a big effort with the, you know, the cigarettes and the themes and the vehicles and everything like that. It felt nice, felt like I got brought back there, right, with the period piece. But this one did something different where you actually got like an 80s themed movie as well. It was a thriller slasher action movie from the 80s. So we pulled the genre right out of it as well. So he did not do his typical horror movie when he did this either. So that caught me a little off guard. And then by the end, I liked it, and I liked the ending. I liked what happened. We'll get into that in a minute.
We'll get into that.
But yeah, I thought it was scary, like more humanly scary.
Yeah, I think you captured why, to my mind, it's one of it is better. In terms of like effect, because yeah, like it's so I'm just repeating you, but it's not only a movie that takes place in the 80s, it is a movie that would have been made in the 80s. And yeah, that goes a long way with me. And it's telling, like with Pearl, and I wasn't gonna fuss on this because like fine, like what movies have I made, but like the cars that, like on IMDb, you go to the goofs, you go to the trivia stuff, and they're like, actually, the Model T car didn't show up for like 10 years after this movie. No, nice. I think that's important though, and like they didn't have talkies in 1918, right? Like, there is actually something about the movie being set, even though it says it's in 1918, it's more of like a 1930s movie.
Do they do any talkies in Pearl? They watch specifically. I noticed this.
Not a talkie, but the music.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but sorry, the music associated with it, apparently, like that wouldn't have been a thing you could do at the time. It doesn't matter. Like it doesn't. I was like, fine, but I just thought that was so telling, that the movie, and gets to my point about like the and we will get back to Maxxxine in a moment, but like the COVID thing, the first thing everybody started talking about when COVID hit, not the first thing they started talking about was the end of the world. Humanity is over. And then after that, they started talking about the Spanish flu of 1918, which followed the end of World War One. And they were like, that was the closest analogy that we'd ever experienced. And lo and behold, this movie goes out of its way to talk about the Spanish. Like, did you know about the Spanish flu? You ever watch a movie where the fucking Spanish flu is involved? No, it's because of COVID.
Sure.
And so
yeah, they did the mask. You do the mask.
Yeah.
I know you're trying to.
And they didn't need to because they were quarantined, all of them. This was like they had sufficiently quarantined in New Zealand in such a way that they didn't have to practice safety precautions. Such as masking, et cetera, as I understand it. I might be wrong about that, so like it was a choice. Like they were like, we're gonna lean into this and we're gonna talk about the moment in the same way. Here, pivot to Maxxxine. The director, watching all those like satanic panic people, she says something to the effect like, it's so easy to lead people who are angry. Ty West can't help but whatever and that's fine. This is what film and art should do from time to time, is comment on politics, but like it's whereas in Pearl it felt ham-fisted and served no aspect of the plot. In this movie it fits, right? The satanic panic, it's right up there. The Night Stalker, and and then so that one little comment from the director is a political commentary, but it's not all that stuff isn't put there specifically for the political commentary.
Right.
It's so not as overt.
Yeah. And so like I just think it's a slicker production. It shows to me that Pearl was just something that they thought up on the fly and just decided to do because they were quarantined, and what the fuck else are they going to do? Like we've got the sets, we're in New Zealand, let's write a script, we're quarantined anyway, let's make a movie. And this feels more like a movie to me. With it took years to produce.
I want to go on record. I really enjoyed the first like hour and a half, not hour, like an hour plus of this movie. Like I was really hopeful.
Yeah.
I liked all this stuff. But I thought it like set up, and I think part of the reason I don't like this movie is that like a lot of the stuff it sets up in the start does not pay off. Like it does Chekhov's guns. It doesn't do Chekhov's gun stuff, I guess I should say, with the premise. And like even one thing I really like each of the movies starts off with like this still, like a door opening, and they all have sort of a thematic effect. Like in the first one, it looks like you're looking at a film, like a still film shot, until you realize that it's actually a set of doors that begins to move and interact with. So it's like you're immersed in the film. In this one, you got the doors of the set, but then Maxxxine walks into the frame. So it's like she's walking into the picture, which I think is also, right. Like setting a tone, like this is like her entering into Hollywood. I love the opening scene, like the undercutting that it does of her path to respectability, of like she's applying for this B movie, she nails the audition, it's great. Mm-hmm. And then they're talking about
show us your tits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like show us your tits. Yeah, do you mind taking off your top so you can see your breasts? Yeah, sure. It's like just so 80s, It's beautiful. But and then like when she walks out, it's just like the line of actors says, "Yo, I might as well go home because I just fucking nailed that." Like
that made me laugh out loud.
Perfect. And part of the problem I had with this movie is that like Maxxxine starts to disappear. Like we don't see her very much. Like she's barely a presence. It becomes much more about the world that she's immersed in. But she, like, aside from a few moments of ultra aggression, kind of fades to the background.
Like when she crushes that guy's balls.
Amazing.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I suppose I see what you mean. Like she does get sort of swept up in things, and the only time she's able to get back on her foot is when what's Giancarlo Esposito or whatever his name is.
The
agent. His assistance, his fucking gangster assistance, turns the tide on everything.
Showdown Little Tokyo moment.
Yeah, actually really funny.
The car crushing.
The car crush? Yeah, I forgot that happened. You're right. Yeah, shit.
Also the like baseball bat to the back of the head, like the unceremonious of Kevin Bacon.
Oh, Kevin Bacon was so good. He was so slimy. Like
He was
great.
awful. He was nearly unrecognizable. Very fun role for him too. But yeah, she was more like I don't know, when she was on screen too. She was almost like they were doing like an 80s action star, sort of like she was. It felt more like she was like surviving horror. Like she was
Final girl.
Yeah, she was like she became the final boss kind of in this and it just, I don't know, there was like tension building, but it was like you say, it was like a supernatural tension almost, because there was like a shadow man and then they had that layered over with the TV articles about the Night Stalker, and then they did the Frank Miller TVs.
Yes.
Yeah,
they did do that.
But which was, I don't know, I just thought that was fun too.
Very fun. Yeah, like there was a great. I think what I ultimately want to say about this movie is that it's just like had so much unrealized potential and it was just underbaked. But I guess we'll get there. I like the little digs, or just that weird like reality. I don't know if reality is the right word, but like as Maxxine's confronted with the people who know who she is and like her background, like there's a security guard who's like, oh, like I know who you are, and then like Kevin Bacon, when he first appears, he's like, oh, you're taller than I thought, but I guess I've only seen you on your back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like that she can't escape her origin, but I loved how it's set up, this idea that horror can be a bridge into legitimacy, like where like she says, name 5 celebrities who got their start, and so they list like Jamie Lee Curtis, Demi Moore, John Travolta, Brooke Shield, and then she's like, and Maxine Minks. But like there is like sort of like a pathway that, and it draws on those themes from X, like what is the relationship between horror, porn, and then legitimacy, and like it seems to be going somewhere for a while.
Yeah, you're right. Like it does seem to be going somewhere, and where it ends up going is like suddenly like some sort of evangelical, like screed against evangelical Christianity that would have been emerging at this time, like the not a screed, but I mean, like ultimately it's meant to like show, I don't know, like the falsity and violence of what I suppose what it ends up doing is her dad's a preacher, right? And he's like, the way he comes onto the camera, the way that the camera captures pornography, the way that the camera captures horror, the way that it also captures the preacher, are all the same ways. And it wants to maybe sort of equalize those things, but in like a really absurd way.
Yeah,
of making
that's the
the final showdown. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
where do all the cameramen have guns? Like what?
I think it was just like because they decided to take this like 80s action thriller kind of narrative, and then it turned into like a vengeance thing where she's trying to face off against the killer, like she's not trying to avoid the killer.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of for me at the end of the movie, that was where I like I like that. That's gonna be like the closure. And I don't know. I just thought it was nice. It was like she was kind of cleaning up the end of her own story. Like, yeah. I don't know.
that gets to the like the twisted feminism of the movie. Like she's gone out of her way to assert her agency, et cetera, et cetera. She's got rid of the influence of daddy, and she's made herself a star of sorts, and even used her like the experience that she went through in a typical sort of '80s way to sensationalize and sell it to the tabloids and whatnot.
I thought it was funny too that Chris brought up Showdown in Little Tokyo, because that's actually like, it's a pure late 80s, whatever, 91. Like that was just such a timepiece, like where like you'd only see that fucking madness. And the end of this movie to me did like evoke that. Like that I did feel like this was fucking wacky. Like this was a crazy, there was cultists, this was fucking insane. There was like an absolute ridiculous shootout. The 80s cops were fucking dying, sucking wind. It was madness. And I just thought that was so fucking 80s. And that was just like such a just dessert to finish this and just really toe the line on what he was like trying to make this movie be like. But I don't know. I thought it was,
I think you're right,
because it was kind of like a genre blend too, and then it was I don't know, it just brought Maxxxine around full circle. I wasn't as mad at the ending as you guys were.
I think you kind of touched on something that maybe is part of why I'm mad at the ending, is that like from the meta perspective, like the for a movie within this movie, the Puritan or whatever, the director talks about how like it's supposed to be a B movie but with A ideas, and that is like the prestige that Ty West has brought to this whole trilogy. But I think in the last part of the movie, it like just dips into just simulating like that 80s wackiness without purpose.
Simulating a B movie.
Yeah,
with like a B movie without A ideas.
Yeah, exactly, losing the A ideas. Because I think like I hate how tight the circle is when you make the serial killer her father. And it's not the Night Stalker. It's like he's a guy who's just killing her friends because like they're sinners. And I do like the fact that he's making a movie out of it. Like I think that's a nice touch. Like sort of like even he's immersed or lured by the power of film or like the home video market. But like this guy's like a successful preacher, and he's more sinister as that successful preacher. He's like a very popular televangelist who's on TV all the time. I don't know how he has time to be a serial killer as well. And it's just like, it's dumb. Like it's dumb to like just make it that tight. Like if it was a cult member who was inspired by him or like part of his flock or something like that, like trying to like win favor with him, that would have been a much better idea, I feel.
Yeah, like a lighter hand with it. Like the fact that her mantra comes from his preaching, frankly, was to me enough. Like I never needed to hear anything about the dad ever again.
Exactly.
And this movie could have, like, what would this movie have been about? I don't know, right? Like it would have been a completely different movie, but probably better for it. Like you could still have a serial killer, you could still have all those things.
You could still be trying to make it legitimate, and I think the other big problem I have with this movie is that the studio should be equally oppressive, but Hollywood just kind of becomes an ally to her, or just becomes like sort of her wish fulfillment, or the like the kind of feminism it ultimately embraces is just sort of this idea that like girls can do anything, and with enough determination you will win. But that's not at all what it's set up from the beginning. That's also not at all the reality. Like, you talk about Marilyn Chambers breaking into Hollywood. So she gets in, she does Rabid, but like what good movies has she really done beyond that? There's really not much. So like the arc of that entry into Hollywood doesn't favor the porn actress. And I feel like there should be more of that shadow over, Hollywood should be working against her.
Yeah, no, I you're right about that, because it would be the porn actresses who did try to cross over in the 70s and 80s, like they suffered a consequence for doing so.
Yeah.
Like a social consequence. And society, to the extent that they embraced them, they also reviled them. And like, none of that stuff was there. Like all that moral outrage was directed towards Satanism and the Puritan and towards horror movies. But the fact that she was going to be the star was not, It would have been extremely controversial.
Yeah, there's a I mean, they do talk about how the director talks about how the producers like didn't want her to be in. She had to fight for Maxxxine to be in it because she had the X factor. She had something special, and that's all good.
Right.
And like there are, I think, like I think we'll have to get in depth into the ending, but just to kind of gloss over it quickly, there are hints that the ending is sort of like Maxxine's peak cocaine triumph mode, where she's like they're a little like it's basically a Sopranos ending is kind of where I come down on it. Like it's still the future's unwritten, like there's still potential consequences, but we just kind of been cut off. Like she comes into her trailer, she does a bump of cocaine still, like that tends to not work out well for people over the long term. Then the director, who like that one star said is like fiercely loyal to her, says like, oh no, she wasn't going to make it anyway. So like there is that hint that Hollywood is a system that's just going to use you up eventually until the point where it's done with you. But it doesn't do. It's very flat in the way it handles that. It's not really particularly clever. It doesn't make me feel like I'm not doing all the work in thinking that through.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
I felt that like she sort of just found a kindred spirit in the director, or that the director in the luck of the draw with the Puritan movie basically wants to like rock the boat on Hollywood, or is making a B movie and wants an edge to it, like wants to have them talk about it in a back alley kind of way. So she's going to advocate for Maxxxine. So I didn't necessarily feel like she was out of place in getting a push through Hollywood. I just thought she sort of like almost like the director like found her like muse. And for just to backtrack too to the dad being like a psycho killer preacher, I felt I read that as like a nice tie-in, because I thought that Maxxxine, in addition to being this 80s action hero survivor, also is sort of completing her journey as an effective killer. That she's sort of completing her own sort of psychosis in absorbing Pearl's sort of murderous traits, and that now I have kind of like a backstory to layer back and tie that back to her dad, who's also a killer, and that everybody's just mentally ill psychopath killers.
See, I agree.
There's sort of a layer there for that, but I don't.
I think you're right. But I think that if that's the case, then we need a darker edge to the end of the movie, as instead of like you've killed your father, like you've embraced like this killer, and then like everything works out well, happy ending, like you are.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. There was a bit of just like let's do a bump and continue filming movies because we beat everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Maxxine's not a killer. Like the character that we meet in X is not a killer. Like, she ends up killing in order to survive, but she's not murderous. So she just wants to fuck and become a star through fucking. But then once she gets to Hollywood, the only thing we see her doing is crush some guy's balls. She does a lot of crushing. She'll crush your balls, and then she'll crush your car with you in it. And I guess at the end she does blow the dude's brains out, but like, yeah, there's no sense in which she is a murderous psychopath, and there's no reflection between the dad and the. Sorry, I just saw the exploding priest's head just now.
Oh, that's nice. So good. The practical effect is so good on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that. There's not a sufficient I don't. What's the phrase? Like the apple falling far from the tree, the apple falling from the tree. Like I don't see, if the dad is the tree, I don't understand how Maxxxine is the apple, except her mantra. Like that makes sense to me. And but her dad being the murderer dude. Yeah.
There's that weird I feel like this is another part where that like needs to be thought through more. It's a little underbaked, but there's almost a narcissism in her. Like, so like the helicopter's overhead. They're saying like stop, Maxxine, like freeze, and he has that flash forward, and I think it is pure fantasy where she's like imagining herself like basically like, oh, you're in the best movie ever. Tell us your story, and then she's like kind of gives her mantra, and at that moment she's like, Daddy, you gave me everything that I ever needed. You made me a star, basically divine intervention. So it's like an omen, like it's all for you, Damien, kind of moment.
Right.
Yeah, and that's unsettling, like that's, but not picked up or examined ever again. It's just like it's very there's a narcissism to it, I guess is what I'm saying. And I don't feel like that's
which isn't
set up before or paid off.
Yeah, I'm watching the end right now. They've just finished filming the thing, like the show, I guess. Like Maxxine's come out dressed as the character in the movie, and then they say like, I like how they say like, and we're gonna have a moment of silence for the lady who died, and and then they move on. And I guess they talk a little bit. Sorry, Chris, this doesn't further what you had suggested, but I wanted to bring it up just while I'm thinking of it. The connection between X and the echo between X and Maxxine is the director, and then the film guy. Man, I want to make an artsy porno, and she's like, I want to make an artsy horror movie.
Right. By bringing in porn.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to. Yeah, by bringing. Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, like I just that's all. Like just pairing these two. I don't know what comes from having done that, but that's a conscious choice on the part of Ty West. Yeah. I don't know what to make of the fact that. Yeah, well, okay, that's interesting. Is it like a comment on Ty West about Ty West?
I don't know. Yeah.
The final image of this movie, I don't know what to do with that special effects thing where they made the mask and she's on the bed and like she's looking up to heaven, but her head's severed. Right. I guess that's like the bed is sex and the severed head is horror, and I don't know. And looking up to heaven, it's kind of religious.
That's really good. I like that.
And fulfilling her dream. Yeah.
I poked around a little bit and read a few. I don't remember who I got this from, so I apologize to the internet. But one
as we should.
Yeah, one interpretation I saw would just mention that the head is that cast that the special effects was trying to make. Yeah, so it's like sort of like a symbol of her overcoming it in a way, but it's also coldly like it's her features frozen forever. It's like it's like a frozen image of her beauty, like mixed with horror. I thought that was kind of interesting. And then
I love that when they make the mask. That's a very good scene.
That was a good scene.
Like showing all that, like the gooping and like there's the smearedness of it. It was very troubling. Not troubling. Like it was just a great image. In a movie that, like, I don't think Ty West is not really a great image kind of guy. Like he's not a bad image guy, but I mean, like he's not going to find that thing that you could kind of just spend some time staring at. And so that was nice to see. Anyway, not important.
Humanizing moment too, like bringing in the idea that she would have some trauma from that. Really kind of effectively displayed there. The other, and that I think it also just kind of gives that again another troubling element to Maxxine's dream of like, I just want this to happen to keep going forever and ever, and it's it's the idea of being like used up by Hollywood, or just kind of like being, I don't know, feed for the machine, maybe. Yeah,
because she's fucked. There's nothing. There's no career coming after that. It's just gonna. Yeah, I think that like that would be an interesting movie, I think I would have rather, if there was to be a trilogy, I would have liked X, Maxxine, and post Maxxine.
Yeah.
That would be interesting, like watching her. So she's acquired a murderousness through the Maxine movie, like throughout all that, and then watching her like fucking fall apart. You could have the Pearl story, watching
Exactly.
her like descend, and turn into like fucking blah, and then become Pearl at the end, but not, like to echo Pearl in the way that like she was afraid of from the first movie.
Exactly. Yeah, that sort of like thread of like you're just like me. And is
Yeah.
there any difference? Like I think there probably is, but like you could explore that. I agree. I think that would be and it would, that there's that quote at the beginning of the movie that Betty Davis, like if you're not known as a monster in this industry, you haven't truly made it. Like that would be, that would be what that movie would be all about, right? I think that there's more stories to tell on both ends of the Pearl and the Maxine spectrum.
Yeah. Just a veritable cinematic universe of just ready to be unearthed, just constantly. I want t-shirts, I want mugs, I want all of it.
Now all we need is a little energon and a lot of luck.